Hey everyone, Jason Verdelli with Phase 2 Solutions, and welcome back to another episode of Experts on Issues here, which is a segment of phase2solutions.net. Very excited today. We have an awesome guest with Chuck Blakeman. Chuck is a world-renowned business author and a business advisor, and a super entrepreneur. Just talking to Chuck here a little bit earlier, have been built and run multinational companies all around the world, 10, I believe, at this particular time. So I'll let Chuck talk about that a little bit more. But today we're going to dive into exactly what is the participation age and how can we leverage digital media in order to bring the digital participation age into our companies. And Chuck's going to explain a little bit more about the benefits of transforming from sort of the industrial age, as Chuck mentions, to the participation age, and why companies are experiencing almost a 10 times faster growth by doing that. So without further ado, Chuck, welcome to Experts on Issues.
Thanks. It's great to be with you.
Excellent. So Chuck, let's dive in a little bit. Tell us a little bit about your background before we dive in. Tell us a little bit about where you came from, how you got to where you are, why be the advisor, why participation age. If you can just give us that little bit of background.
I am an incurable entrepreneur. I've always gravitated towards stuff that people said I wasn't good at, or I couldn't do, or nobody else could do. So anytime there was a problem that needed to be solved that either other people couldn't do it or they thought I couldn't do it, I jumped in. And that's really how I ended up with so many different companies in so many different fields all across the landscape, direct mail, printing, call centers, fulfillment and logistics, leadership development, import, export, a landscape architecture company, all kinds of goofy stuff, website development. And most of that was stuff I didn't know anything about, but I saw holes in what was happening and we jumped in. So that's been my background. I think that's what entrepreneurs do. They solve problems, they figure out what other people aren't doing, and they jump in and fill the gap. And that's been my history. It's been a lot of fun. It's a little crazy. I've dragged my wife and kids through a lot of stories as a result of that, but it's been a lot of fun. We've got great stories.
Excellent. And Chuck, tell us just briefly a little bit about some of the books. I know you, again, being a well-known business author, you have one book, Making Money is Killing Your Business, and the other book here is Why Employees Are a Bad Idea. Can you tell us a little bit about the books themselves?
Yeah, the first book, Making Money is Killing Your Business, was really just a compilation of the first 25 or so years of my own business life and how I figured out how to get where I needed to be as a business owner. And so it's a book about how to be a business owner and to move from income producing to being an actual business owner where you get off the treadmill. Most business owners aren't actually business owners. They're what I call income producers. They're making money and they're on a treadmill and they'll never get off because as soon as they stop, the money stops. We got to figure out how to build a business that makes money when we're not around. We have to learn how to delegate and get other people involved in the business that way. So there's a lot of my first 5 or 6 businesses in that book, and that was the number one rated business book in 2010. And it was also it's now a book in I think at least one college is using it as a textbook in their undergrads. And then my second book, Why Employees Are Always a Bad Idea, that's what we're going to talk more about today. And this book actually came out of my own sort of left-handed, right-brained, artsy-fartsy view of the business world. I didn't know I was different. I just thought everybody did the world this way. So every time I built a company, I did it in a goofy way. We didn't have titles, and we didn't have managers, we didn't have departments. We had 100, 120 people at one point, and we just knew what everyone was doing. We had great processes, we had great procedures. Everybody knew exactly what they were doing, but there was no hierarchy that we played with. We didn't have egos. And I just kind of thought everybody would do it this way. And I'd have friends ask me what I'm doing. And eventually I got to where I was helping other companies do this because they saw how much everyone in the company was engaged in what we were doing from at every level. And they couldn't seem to get that kind of involvement from all their folks. So that really started this journey. And I was blogging on this stuff since at least 2007 or 8. And in 2012, I wrote a blog called Why Employees Are Always a Bad Idea. And it went viral. And it went viral again 3 months later, and 4 months later, and 6 months later. I finally realized this is something I need to write about. People are all feeling the same thing I'm feeling now, but they don't have words for it. When you give them a narrative and give them words for it, they say, yeah, that's what I'm feeling, and I need to move in that direction. Thanks for validating that I don't feel like what we've been doing works. So the participation age is basically the follow-on to 150 years worth of factory system traditional management that wasn't a real good idea when it worked, and it's a terrible idea now. The emerging work world of the participation age has two hallmarks: participation and sharing. And you see this in our economy, Jason. There's the participation. We didn't ever had the Arab Spring without social media and without the ability to participate and to share at that level. Airbnb and Car2Go and Uber, and we see all kinds of ways that people are participating and sharing in ways that were not imaginable 20 years ago. So the internet and the ability to communicate very quickly has created a new way for us to get involved with one another, and participation and sharing are it. So that's the hallmarks of the participation age. And really, it's not a new thing. I want to emphasize that to make sure we understand this is not new. We're actually going back where we were before the industrial age. Before the industrial age, everybody had a brain. 80+% of people owned their own businesses, shoemakers, farmers, 80+% for thousands of years of free people, they owned their own businesses. And when the factory system came along, we took their brains away from them, put this nut on that bolt. And that's what you did for 150 years. And we're really going back where we came from. The participation age is built on the notion that everybody wants to participate in the building of a great company, not for the CEO, but with the CEO. And they want to share in the results of building that great company. They want to be owners, even if they don't physically own. They want to own, and the best way to own is by making decisions. So that's sort of a recap of where the participation age is going.
Excellent, excellent. Chuck, and some of the throughout the blog posts and throughout going to chuckblakeman.com, the website there, I was reading a lot on the participation age, and this is some of the results. I mean, some of these companies that are employing this. I remember a reference was something around 10 times. Companies that are employing the participation age or that are kind of conforming to that are growing at 10 times faster rate than the companies that aren't. Can you tell us a little bit about some of the benefits that companies are experiencing and some of the traits that they're giving people? I remember watching one of the speaking engagements. You were one of the videos there, and you had mentioned about allowing people, having some of these companies are allowing people to come in and leave whenever they want, but they're, so it seems like almost kind of loosey-goosey to some degree, but obviously they're seeing a great benefit out of it. So can you talk a little bit about, sort of that, how they're getting that kind of result?
Yeah, my TED Talk does a real great 14.5 minute recap of all this. It's called The Emerging Work World in the Participation Age. Just Google that, Blakeman, The Emerging Work World in the Participation Age. But yeah, there's an assumption that this kind of way of doing, well, let's shut it up first. What is a participation age company? So imagine a company with, say, no managers. Nobody works for anybody. They work in teams instead, and the teams hire and fire. The teams decide how much productivity they will do. In many cases, the teams even decide what their salaries will be. And the teams decide when they take breaks, when they have vacation. There's no vacation, unlimited vacation, no titles. Imagine a company with thousands of people, no departments, no corporate ladder, no office hours, unlimited vacation. It sounds like a free-for-all. In many of these cases, they don't even have HR departments. There's a few companies out there with thousands of people with no HR manual. They got an 18-page comic book they give people on, here's the values we have as a company. How do you do that? It sounds like chaos. I can tell you this right up front, the participation age companies are more organized, they're more efficient, they have better processes, better procedures than any traditional hierarchical managed company that I can think of. Without question, every time you do this, it goes in that direction. But it sounds scary, and the reason it sounds scary is because back in the 60s, a guy named Douglas McGregor wrote a book called The Human Side of Enterprise. And he described two basic fundamental beliefs about people: theory X, theory Y. Theory X is most people are stupid and lazy. Well, if you believe that, then you've got to set up managers over top of them, and they lord over those people, and they make sure they're productive, and they follow them around. And it's this relentless chasing game, and it's built on mistrust and misperception and all that stuff. And that's what 150 years worth of management has been. Theory X, people are stupid and lazy, and I can't be away from them, because if I do, then the cat's away, the mouse will play. Theory Y is no, people are smart and motivated. The overwhelming majority of people are smart and motivated, and they actually do want to have a brain and help you be successful if you just get out of their way and let them. So you get to decide. Both of these are self-fulfilling prophecies. If you believe Theory X, then you give everybody 2 weeks of vacation and six paid days of sick leave, and an hourly wage that has no relationship with results, and all these other manufacturing factory system constructs that box them in to keep them from being stupid and lazy. If you believe they're smart and motivated, you give them a framework within which to work, very clear results that you want as a company. You all agree on the results, and then you let them figure out how to get there. And if they get there by Wednesday, Ricardo Semler owns a company, it's a $3 billion company that works this way. And he says, if we and the sales force decide that each salesperson has to sell 37 widgets by the end of the week, and the sales guy sells 37 by Wednesday, go home. You did what, you got us the result. Or you can sell 20 more widgets and make more money. Which one do you want to make? More time or more money? That's how these places work. I assume you're an adult. We agree on the result. You get me the result. I don't care where you are, and I don't care when you are. But in a traditional model, I don't care what your production is. You just have to be in the seat. And that's why Dilbert is funny. And movies like The Office are funny, because we know people are just biding their time sitting in the chairs. It's a time-based world. And we want to turn it into a results-based world. That's a fundamental shift to the participation age. I get paid for the results I bring to you instead of for sitting in the chair another 8 hours.
So, Chuck, that's excellent. I think the moving towards that, though, just kind of bridging this over to the digital world, how have you seen companies transition to this kind of work environment through digital media? Is it done primarily through social media? Is it the kind of systems that they're using, CRM systems, whatever? Where have you kind of seen that shift, especially over the past few years, in utilizing digital media?
It really is all about digital media. Since this idea of self-management, there was a guy in 1934 who began to talk about this stuff. And the guys in the 60s and in the 90s, it was all the rage to try this stuff in the early 90s. But really the conditions weren't right, and the technology wasn't right for making this happen. With the advent of the Web 2.0 part of the web of the internet, where we get to interact back and forth. That's 2.0, is we're talking to each other now. It's back and forth, conversant. That set up the conditions under which this works. So it's all about the digital world. Like I said, the Arab Spring would never happen without Twitter. And the same thing is happening in companies. We find that the companies that are doing the best at this are the ones who are using digital media and digital communications as a fundamental. It doesn't replace human condition or human communications. It makes it better. It makes it more applicable. So there are pieces of software, for instance, that each one of these companies is using on a regular basis to help them get where they need to go. There's communication software. Some of our clients are using software where it's a whiteboard, and everybody in the company gets to talk through the whiteboard, and anytime they can go to their computer and say, HR sucks, or I don't like the way this project's going, or I'm bored, there's nothing, my work is, and it can be anonymous, or you can put your name on it, and management or leadership is required to respond to it within 1 hour. And if they see patterns, then they take another piece of digital media and they go and there's an app for this, and they go and do a survey of everybody in the company, 3 or 4 questions. Hey, we got this feedback on our whiteboard. Here's a quick survey on a scale of 1 to 5, agree or disagree. What do you think about this issue? And if they get a bunch of people figuring out that it's a bad issue, okay, now they get together as human beings and have a meeting and talk about it. So that's just one example of how people are conquering this idea by sharing and participating. But in the past, it was so much harder to have everyone share and participate. You'd have to have lots of meetings and company-wide meetings. One of our clients has people on 3 continents: India, Australia, and in the US. And they've got people on these whiteboards and on the surveys, and then they have a town hall once a week through digital media, and they call it Time Travel Tuesdays, where everybody in all 3 continents is getting together at the time that would work the best for all 3 continents, which never works for all of them. And they have a town hall based on what they're getting off the whiteboards, what they're getting out of the surveys, and what they're getting out of those human meetings that they have on a regular basis as well. So digital media is a huge help in this. And then, of course, things like Twitter and Facebook and others are playing into that. You're seeing people get involved in being evangelists for their companies or being detractors of their companies in those environments. And you can't hide anymore. One of the huge impacts of this, Jason, is that you don't own your brand anymore. Guess who does? It's one person, one at a time. When United Airlines screws me up, as they normally do, my tens of thousands of Twitter followers get to know about that right away. And then all of a sudden, they're trying to be nice to me at United Airlines. But they can't fake it. You can't fake it anymore because there's too many people out there. The advent of Web 2.0 and the ability to actually participate creates an environment where you better be who you say you are, because if you're not, you're going to get found out.
That's interesting. It's really interesting too, especially with the shift with companies utilizing listening tools, right? Listening and publishing tools. So the management is there to listen and then react, maybe in the terms of coming up with a survey and being able to kind of narrow down to see, is this just an isolated issue, or is this an issue that's happening all over the place? Or and also taking that even a step further and utilizing that same information towards maybe again the digital town hall, as you had mentioned, to get kind of get a group of people now without being isolated and actually start to come up with some better ideas in order to grow. Do you, Chuck, with the kind of software, is there any specific examples of software that companies are utilizing for this?
I like 7geese.com. That's a great whiteboard software that allows you to get everybody participating all across the world all at once in conversations. We use Slack. One of the survey tools is 155.com. That's a great little tool to survey on a regular basis. Very simple, very easy. And then, of course, there's more traditional digital things like SurveyMonkey and things like that. We use Zoom. There's a lot of opportunities to this sharing and participation age has made it so that you don't actually have to physically be in one place. We've got people in our company who are in Oregon. We've got facilitators in Virginia and Ireland and Nairobi, and we can get on together and have a town hall and have a meeting without having to get together. We do that here locally in Denver. We've got a nice big facility here that in Denver where we do training and workshops, but most of us work out of our houses, and we'll get on digital media and talk to each other either physically or typing wise through things like Slack or Zoom. So the tools are endless, but we have a few that we like, and each company will find other ways to do that. But it is a real key, in my opinion, a real key to the success of the participation age is that we can't just do this the way we've always done it. I can't just do the old MBO or management by walking around. That was the big thing in the 80s and maybe the early 90s. You can't walk around to everybody's desk because they're either working out of their house or there's 500 of you or whatever. They're busy and you're interrupting them. But if we put 7 geese out there, they can type on anytime they want. Here's a question I have. Here's an answer I have. Here's a need I have. Here's a complaint I have. Here's a praise I have. Hey, I just caught my buddy doing something really cool. And that's part of the use of these things, is to catch people doing things right. All that instantaneous feedback is not possible by having managers walking around trying to pull it out of people. This is a real essential. Digital media is a real essential part of the participation age. It's what has really made this possible when for 70, 80 years, it was a very difficult thing to make happen.
And Chuck, with I guess with the digital side or the adoption of this, employees that are using I'll just use 7Geese. I guess that's the whiteboard software. With that, is it more because it's anonymous, that they don't have to necessarily be face to face in a physical environment and to be able to say that? Is that where you're seeing a higher adoption of that internally?
And that can be abused, and it is to begin with. But when somebody abuses it and they put out a survey piece on that complaint, and nobody else in the company feels that way, even if that person's anonymous, they're going to feel pretty small. And they're not going to do that on a regular basis. But it absolutely does help people feel safe. It's like being in a room with just your 4 best buddies. And nothing's going to leave the room. Okay, my hair's down. I get to say what I really believe. In that kind of anonymous environment, you get to say what you really believe. You can also be very careless with it. But you can also, in many of these applications, you can sign in, put your name in there. Here's what I believe. So it goes any direction, but absolutely, number one, you feel safer. Number two, you can do it right now. It's not like, hey, I saw my buddy doing something really cool. We have a meeting next Tuesday about people doing cool stuff. I'll see if I can remember that. Yeah, you're not even going to go to the meeting. You're going to forget about the meeting, let alone your buddy doing something. So the instantaneous ability for that kind of feedback is a huge part of it. I like what I'm doing right now. I don't like you get the pulse of a company. This company I'm talking about has 300 plus people on 3 continents, and man, they're getting the pulse on 3 continents on a daily basis, and the leadership can take 15 minutes during their day and read through all the comments and get a feel for what's going on in the company on 3 continents. You can't do that with an airplane, a helicopter, and all the walking around you can try.
Yeah, that's the cool thing about that is, for a lot of companies, small or big, I mean, these kinds of softwares or digital integrations can be set up rather quickly. I would assume, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, in many cases, it's paying the $19.95 a month or just signing in and giving everybody the password. I think the other thing that makes this attractive, but also keeps people from doing it, depending on the culture of the company, is that it now gives everybody in the company a voice. I don't feel small anymore. I can put something out there that'll end up on the survey this week. It might actually change something in our company. We might actually do something better or different because of my voice. And that's threatening to very heavily hierarchical, ego-driven, top-down environments that want to pretend that they are really, really good and they don't need any of that help. But there's less and less of that going on. Most people are being a lot more transparent. Leadership is admitting in a lot more cases that they don't know what they're doing. And I need as much help as I can get. And I'll take as many leaders as we can get. If we can get 3,000 leaders in a 3,000 person company, digital media and that kind of quick feedback will help us get there.
Excellent, excellent. So Chuck, we talked a little bit about the benefits of participation age and about making that move in that direction. Really getting your team to be a part of the growth of the company. We talked about the software, some of the different tools that companies can start utilizing pretty much right away to get this implemented. What would you say, just as a final question here, what would you say would be the next steps for a lot of companies in saying, hey, listen to this interview, Chuck, love your ideas.
Want to do it?
Where do we get started tomorrow?
Yeah, great question. And the first answer, the answer to that is going to sound depending on where you're coming from, it's either going to sound really refreshing or it's going to sound like woo-woo crap. And the answer to that is the first step in shifting toward the participation age is to sit down and write down your beliefs and your values. Those are interchangeable. And it's not your personal beliefs. It's not about sexuality or religion or race or any of that. I'm talking business beliefs. What do you value about business? What do you believe about business? Does business exist, for instance, to destroy everybody else who's in my space? Or does my business exist, or does business exist in general to create great stuff that makes the world better? And then why does my business exist? Am I in business to destroy the other guy or to do something good? Why do people work? That's a belief system. Do people work because they need to make money and they'll go home and be smart? Or do they work because they actually want to make meaning at work? They want to walk home saying, or walk out saying, I did something meaningful. Check your beliefs and put your values together first. Companies are learning and they're beginning to embrace the idea that every decision they make comes from how they view the world. Theory X, theory Y. Which one do you believe? It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. So the first thing you have to do is check your beliefs. Do you really honestly believe that people are smart enough that you can train them and teach them how to make decisions without you? And then they'll just give you a report. Or do you think you have to somehow constantly be in the background harassing them and haranguing them? So that's the first step. Check your values. Check what you believe and check your values, and that it'll go from there. We won't work with a company where their values are industrial age. We can't do it because nothing will change.
Excellent, excellent. And so taking that a step further, Chuck, what are some ways that some of the viewers here, what are some of the ways they can get in contact with you to learn more with the website, the book, to some of the places you are in digital media? Can you explain a little bit about that? So again, just if somebody who does that wants to take the next step.
I'm very active on Twitter. I'm on there every day. Chuck Blakeman, that's my handle there. Chuck Blakeman on Facebook. I'm not on there as often, but I'm on there a bunch of times a week. LinkedIn, I do a lot of posts on LinkedIn, so you can look for me on LinkedIn, and we do a lot of posts. I was one of the early adopters there. And then chuckblakeman.com. You can find me there for speaking, workshops, business advisory, that kind of stuff as well.
Chuck, can they get
I also write for Inc. People would want to know that. I write regularly. I have a blog for Inc. every week. So just look up Inc. Chuck Blakeman and you'll find my blog, my Inc. blog.
Excellent, excellent. And the two books there, Chuck, somebody's interested in purchasing them. How can they go ahead and do that?
Yeah, Making Money is Killing Your Business. That's my first book was Making Money is Killing Your Business, and that's on Amazon. And then Why Employees Are Always a Bad Idea. They're both on Amazon. This one you've got an audio version of, and they both have ebook versions, but we also have an audio version of this one. This one's been through 4 reprints and second edition now, #1 bestseller and #1 rated business book. And this was a top 10 business book a couple years ago. Both of these are being used as textbooks in universities. The University of Georgia took this book, which is what we've been talking about today, and made it a mandatory read for all their MBA students last year. So we're pretty proud of what we've got here that will help companies figure out how to build a participation age company.
Excellent, excellent. Any closing remarks here, Chuck, before we finish up?
Yeah, I would say this is all about culture, another woo-woo crap thing that is actually driving everything. And I would say this in closing: you don't create a culture. When I walk into companies where there's eagles on the wall with clever sayings and bouncy balls in their conference rooms, I start to get nervous because they're trying to create something to get rid of what they had going on that's the real problem. You don't create a culture, you simply live out what you believe. What do you believe? That's your culture. One decision at a time based on your beliefs. So you don't create culture, you simply live out what you believe. Right back to what do you believe, what are your values? It'll all work out from there.
Excellent, excellent. Chuck, it's been awesome having you on the interview today. Again, I really do appreciate it. And for those of you watching, again, be sure to check out or go to chuckblakeman.com. You can find out a lot of the great information there. Be sure to pick up the book on Amazon. Again, the names of the book, Making Money is Killing Your Business, which is the first book. And then the second one we talked about, which is Why Employees Are Always a Bad Idea. I'll be sure to check that out on Amazon. And with that said, again, thanks for watching Experts on Issues this week. Be sure to tune back into expertsonissues.com, and you can check out some of the other upcoming interviews and also our past interviews that we've had, and we will take it from there. So thanks for watching.